online. All right, now the next thing we're going to have to know for today is this thing that's called the null factor law, if you live in Australia and everywhere else in the world, the zero product property. Okay, either one's fine. You'll see them both. And this is what it says. If you multiply two things together and the answer is 0, if you multiply two things together and the answer is 0, then what? One of them, or both, maybe, must be 0. I'm never going to get two non-zero numbers multiplied together that are going to give me 0, right? I'm not going to multiply 2 times 5 and get 0. It's only going to be 2 times 0 or 7 times 0 or 0 times half or whatever, right? Okay, so the null factor law says that. It says if you have two things and you're multiplying them together and the answer is 0, 0, right? 0, then one of them has to be 0. If the answer is 2, does one of them have to be 2? No. No, no, no. It only works for 0. That's why it gets that name. Okay, and it's the only number that works. Very powerful number, 0. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to use it. So we're going to solve quadratic equations. So I'm going to write some steps over here. The first step is that we must have equal to 0. Okay, so this one equals 0, so that's good. I like that. The second step is that we're going to factorize. Okay, how does this factorize? Get an x out? Okay, get an x out, and I'm left with x minus 3. Is that right? Okay. Now, I can see two things multiplied together there. I have this thing times, let me use my pens today, times, sorry people in the video, this thing. All right? I have two things multiplied together. That times that. The zero product property says one of those has to be 0. So when I do my answer, I'm going to say x equals 0, or one or the other, x minus 3 equals 0. Agreed? One of those has to be 0. And this one is going to set each factor equal to 0. Yeah? This one's going to take a bit of solving. Like x equals 0 is an answer, but that's not an answer. This one I'm going to have to put 3 over there, yeah? Add 3 to both sides. So that is me solving that quadratic equation. Now, look up above, straight above, where we put y equals x squared minus 3. Where did it go through the x? 0 and 3. Okay, so the things we're finding are the x-intercepts. See? This is the same as that. That is the same as that, except I made y equal to 0. When I make y equal to 0, I'm on the x-axis, yeah? And so when I solved this, I got where it goes through the x. Where did that graph go through the x? 0 and 3. Okay, here we go. Here's the next one. What do you guess the answer is going to be already? Look up to your graph. Okay, let's do the factorizing. So we must have equal to 0. Tick, I've got that done. Now we must factorize. How do you factorize that? It's the difference of two perfect squares. So I'll put a tiny note here for people that have forgotten that a squared minus b squared equals a plus b, a minus b. I don't know how you could have forgotten that. You've done so much factorizing lately. But let's say you did. So how does that factorize? Yeah, did you do that in your homework? I've watched a lot of you do it. Okay, so that formula This is sneaky down here. It's not step 5 or anything. These are the only steps I need. Now what do? I factorized. I set each factor equal to 0. So what do I write down? X plus 4 equals 0, or, I write the word or, x minus 4 equals 0. And is there solving that needs to go on? How do you solve this for x? Take 4. And this one? Add 4. And those are my two answers. Okay? And that graph up there went through 4 and negative 4, so that's good. Okay, now, what do you think the answer is to this one by looking up there?
2 and 3.
2 and 3? Let's try it. This is a trinomial, so I have to think of two things that multiply to 6 and add to negative 5. Say it again. If I did 1 and 6, I'd have to do them both negative, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. And 1 and 6 both negative would be negative 7 there. You know what I mean? Okay, so are 2 and 3 a better choice?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they multiply to 6, add to negative 5. Okay, so I've done my factorizing, and now I need to set each factor equal to 0. And solve.